Good evening. Good evening, everyone. How are you? I am super excited to be here tonight. I am having a special segment tonight. So, first off, before I jump right in, my name is Sonya Moore. I'm the CEO and owner of Moore Planning and Consulting, a virtual administrative and consulting and support firm. And I have a lot to talk to you about tonight because this is a very special segment. So, if you are a new viewer, I want to say welcome and thank you for joining. And before I jump in, I want to give you a little clip about what you can expect when you watch this show. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, thank you. Planning, processes, and people, that is my specialty. It's what I do. It's what I love doing, and it's the key elements that makes small business owners have a thriving and healthy business. But I just don't want to talk about it. I want you to hear from CEOs that are actually using strategy in their business so that they can thrive. Because strategy can be a bit scary at times. People get a little bit intimidated, they feel they don't need it, but they need to understand that when it is done right and when it's done in a way that can help you take your business to the next level faster, it's something that you want to integrate into your business. So that is why I have this special segment tonight, and it is called the CEO Connection. I'm going to bring to you a CEO that is actually using strategy successfully in their business to unlock their dreams so that they can move forward. So before I get going, though, I want to hear a little bit about who's watching and what you're doing. So I first off want to say welcome to the viewers. I see we have some people joining in. Welcome, welcome. Barbara, hey, hey, hey. And I see I have Tara on, hashtag September CEO Challenge. That's a challenge in my society that's going on right now. But for those of you that are joining, I want you to let me know the city and state that you're tuning in from. And if you are watching the replay, please put hashtag replay. I want to know that you are watching. Okay, so that's done. Oh, and of course, share this, share this, share this, because if you are a small business CEO and you are watching this, I want you to share this so that you can alert other CEOs that are kind of wondering and thinking about strategy. So do me a favor and click that share button. All right. Let's get going. All right, I have a special guest that I'm going to bring up to the virtual seat. But before I do that, let me read a bio. Okay, I'm going to be bringing Simone Charles to the virtual seat as my CEO Connection guest. So let me tell you a little bit about Simone before we get started. Simone Charles is your social butterfly. As the owner and creative director of Social Butterfly Events and the Confetti Room, she started her love affair with events at Georgia Institute of Technology, producing corporate and educational events for faculty and students. She utilizes her formal background in education and organizational development and logistics management to create and execute event experiences for both couples and corporations. Simone is a serial entrepreneur who has used her expertise to consult venues to the tune of over $5 million in event sales. That's a lot. As a venue owner herself, she opened the doors to her first venue in 2017. She prides herself on details and sets the tone to create elevated experiences for her guests. This can be seen in her most recent venture, the Confetti Room, which I've been to and it is beautiful, which opened in the heart of OTR in 2019. The Confetti Room has been featured in Cincinnati Magazine, The Business Courier, and Cincy Chic. Whether she's holding a bride's veil or negotiating your next conference venue contract, she has been known to be the calm in the event storm for all of her clients. I bring to you Simone Charles. Hey, Simone.
Hi, Sonya. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for accepting the invite to be on the CEO Connection. We have some people chiming in to see you and to say hello. We've got Kimberly Hamilton on. We've got Cameo Stewart. Hey, Cameo from Austin, Texas. Hey, girl. And we've got Tara Purnell from Dayton, Ohio. See, all over the map, honey, all over the map to see you. This is great. I love talking strategy. You know I do. So I had to have you on, right?
Thank you.
So, with that, tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do in your business.
Sure. So I'm an event planner essentially. I started with Social Butterfly Events. Initially, I started my company with event planning after volunteering and realizing that I had a problem with social anxiety. And I kind of found it hard to kind of get out there and engage with others. And so what I would do is I would initially just volunteer and try to get myself into the community and focus on helping instead of focusing on my lack of ability.
Okay.
And through that, I just realized that I loved helping. I loved putting things together. I loved seeing what the end result was, and I loved when things came together. On top of that, I love to analyze things and always have a backup plan for my backup plan, which kind of translates well into the event industry and being able to, be quick on your feet and always, have a next plan. And
Mm-hmm.
so I like to say that I did not find events, events found me, and,
Mm.
just had a love affair since that point. Yeah.
Wow. So, why did you decide to become a CEO when it came to events? Tell us a little bit about that.
Whew. Well, I was actually planning more social events at the time. I did a lot of social events, always the person that people would call in my family, friends, things like that. And ideally, in 2015, I realized, the frequency as to how much I was doing events and the fact that they were scaling and it was getting a bit bigger. And
Mm-hmm.
at the time, one of the things that I really liked to do was to help women CEOs, um,
Mm.
assist them with conferences and expos and things of that nature. And so I
Okay.
said, you know what, I just really think that I should go ahead and make it legal and
Mm-hmm.
incorporate this. So at that time, I went ahead and just founded the business,
Okay.
and we, legalized it. And that was back in 2015. Jump a couple months later, had no idea what I was doing
Mm-hmm.
because I have a background in organizational management.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was working corporate life at that time, working in
Mm-hmm.
America. And my job was outsourcing my department. And
Mm.
I found out April Fool's Day
Oh,
and
wow.
literally thought that it was a joke, and it wasn't, And
Mm-hmm.
they decided that they were not taking our department with them to the next level. And
Mm.
so I found myself out of a job, but with a business.
Mm.
And I really just had to ask myself, do I really like what I was doing anyways? Did I feel as though my purpose was being filled? And I didn't.
Right.
So I was also 4 months pregnant at the time. And
Oh
so
my
it
goodness.
really was just the perfect storm
Mm-hmm.
for becoming a full-time entrepreneur. And so I stuck it out and I decided, you know what? I was no longer going to depend on others for a paycheck. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just jumped wholeheartedly into this, and I've been doing it full time ever since then,
So you bet on yourself, it sounds like.
pretty
You knew
much.
your skills, they were outsourcing, and you said, you know what, there is no better time than the present. Let me go ahead and take this leap and go for it. Most people aren't able to do that. They still want that safety net of that paycheck, because trust me, similar here. But there's sometimes when you don't have that paycheck, you have faith.
Yeah.
Faith becomes your paycheck, and you cash that in and you say, hello, you know what, you've given me these gifts, you've given me these talents, and let me just go for it and see. Because sometimes when you do that, all you have is him to land on, and you're gonna go for it. So you took the leap, which I think is fantastic, but you left it to like your first six-figure business, right?
Very true. It literally was just being so focused and knee deep in trying to swim and not think and not realizing that failure was an option, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Just waking up every day and chugging at it and introducing myself to people, putting myself in situations that just weren't situations I wanted to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But basically just getting my name out there and being a worker bee with that mindset at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So being in that worker bee. So let's all right. So you hitting on some words here. Worker bee. You just overwhelmed with all these different things going on because now you have a new business. You know you have to bet on yourself. You don't want to just be the worker bee in your business. Now we know being the worker bee, you have to be in that capacity for a little bit, but you don't want to stay there. And for you to grow six figures, you can't stay in that worker bee capacity. You need to be thinking ahead, and you need to be making sure things are being put in place so that you can get to where you need to be. So with that, I would imagine strategy is something that got you there, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
So listening to my clients and what they were saying basically,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
thinking of, okay, well, what's the next step to this?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So talk to me about how did strategy change your life when it came to your business so that you can get the clients that you want, so you can have that peace of mind, and so that you can start operating as a CEO in your business?
Mhm. So initially, like I talked about, when you first start out, a lot of it is more sink or swim mindset. So you're just focused on, look, waking up every day and hitting the pavement and doing what you have to do, right? There comes a time, and I'm not exactly sure, when this was, but you realize that there's just no going back. You're
Mm-hmm.
to creating your own destiny. I think what kind of did it for me was I was offered a position to where the money was great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but even though the money was great, I realized that I had my faith in my own hands, and
Mm-hmm.
there was absolutely nothing like that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely nothing like that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of clicks that yes, the money is great when it's being offered, but ultimately the mindset that I had was, if I put this amount of hours in, if I do this amount of work, I
Mm-hmm.
control my destiny as far as what I can make. And so
Mm-hmm.
that I started to think of strategies, started to think of, my resources, my labor, what I can do, what I can outsource, what I may be able to, maybe call someone, say, hey, is it possible that we can do a contract for this amount of time to where this is something that you can take on?
Mm-hmm.
Strategy really started to set in at that point when I realized, okay, how do I level up?
Mm-hmm. Right, right. So what did it mean to you though? So let me walk you through, or walk our viewers through, what an actual strategy session felt like for you to be able to make that happen for you. Because some people think with strategy it's like, oh, it's this buttoned up, oh my gosh, I have to come together, already together to be able to, for someone to help me. Talk to the viewers about what your strategy session was like to help unlock those
Sure.
thoughts to get you to your next level.
So I remember my first strategy session actually happened after I received an email from you. It was sometime after Black Friday or during Black Friday. I'd been thinking about it for a while, and it came across, and I saw the email, and I was like, you know what? I need to just go ahead and bite the bullet. If I'm going to buy anything else, I need to make sure that I invest here. And so I went ahead and I purchased a strategy session. And keep in mind that my background is in organizational development, and I have some training and strategy myself in logistics and systems. But it's one thing when you're in the hot seat and you're not able to look from the outside in, And so I went into this not knowing exactly what to expect, but knowing that it's important because I have a background in it and I know what I've done in businesses myself and, just what I've learned and what I've seen happen by just fully being able to understand the multiple systems and peel back the different layers of the onion, basically. That's exactly what this was. Going into it and talking with you, I literally sat there because you were asking questions that were peeling back the different layers of the onion in my business. And when I left there, it was like literally from the conversation, I hadn't even yet received the document that you provided for me. At the end of that, it was just the conversation itself. I was sitting in the seat and there was just so many things that were going off. And there was a moment where I was like, well, you knew this. Well, why did you do it? But you were asking the right questions, Sonya. And what it really is it takes you through a journey. It's a journey of your business. And a lot of times as CEOs, we're so close to it and in the everyday mindset of, hitting numbers, looking at this, making sure that we're checking this box, checking that box, making sure that our people are okay. Customer service, things like that we really don't have time to fully uncover the behind every little piece. And to me, that's what the strategy sessions did for me. It really helped me to kind of take a step back, take a look at the macro, and then start chopping it down micro pieces and making it more digestible and giving me an action plan. It's what it did, basically.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. I love what the first thing that you said is that if you buy anything else, buy this. Because people buy products, right? Things they can put their hands on. But people don't often think about the strategy behind your business. It's the backbone. Yes. It's what helps you to be sustainable in your business. And starting there, putting all those pieces together. And I remember our session because I was asking questions and you're like, oh my gosh, this feels so much better to be able to get this all out. Because the beauty of the session is that you don't have to come with everything. Just come with the thoughts of all those things jumbled up and bouncing in your head and then organizing it. That's what I do. Yeah. So your post, when you said it's like a therapy session, I thought, I never thought about that from the client perspective.
It allows you to breathe because like you said, there's a lot going on in your mind as a CEO. So many boxes that have to be checked. And at the end of it, it's so manageable and digestible that it is like a therapy session.
Yeah. And when you are able to put it on paper, it makes it real. Yeah. Because having it in your head, those are just thoughts. But until you see it in front of you, you see how viable and how real your business is in all the parts. And if they're put together intentionally, because it's all about intentional steps in your business. We have so much to do as CEOs is that we got to do this, we have to do that. Yes, but busy is not productive.
Very true.
And you just don't want to do things. You want them to have intention and meaning behind everything you're doing and know why. So all those things that you end up buying, you are making better decisions to make. How do I say this? You're making better decisions on what to buy and what to invest in when you have strategy because you know exactly how it's going to fit into your plan. And it's just like cogs on a wheel. When instead of buying things and not knowing, you want to know exactly where that piece is going to fit, because the small business owners, we have limited resources sometimes, at least starting off we do. And you want to be very intentional about, if you're going to spend $1,000 on this or $2,000 on this, you want to know what your return on investment is going to be. And if you don't have a plan, a strategy, let me correct that. A strategy is the vision. The plan are the action steps to get you there. Two different things. So the strategy is the vision that you have. And the beauty is that you had a vision, and you said you do this for other people, but you were so close to it in your own business that having someone else to do that really amplified and got you excited. Because I remember how excited you were at the end of the session.
And let me tell you, yes, I may have done it for others, but not to the level that you have. That was another thing that I realized. There are different ways that someone can come in and facilitate a strategic session, basically.
And I love it because I want you to come as raw and real, as transparent and vulnerable as possible. Period. Because that's when, like you said, you peel back the onion. No judgment. It is a no judgment, stress-free zone at all. And that's when the best work is being made. So what is the best thing or the biggest win that you've had since you've been using strategy in your business?
You said raw, huh? I think the realizations that basically just smacked me in the face. The wake-up calls. So for me, after our strategy sessions, it was the time that I was spending on things that were not worth my time, but yet needed to be done. So, whereas my time translated to a certain dollar, but yet I was doing things that could have been outsourced, that it just didn't add up. I was basically losing money because I was doing certain things.
Okay.
That was one. You really kind of helped to open my eyes to automation, because I'm not the most tech savvy person. And so systems that I may have already been using that had automation pieces to them that I was already paying for, but didn't even realize that there were certain elements to it that I could have put into place that could have been, been working smarter, not harder, things like that really helped. The other thing that kind of slapped me in the face is, you touched on it before, is writing it down, because a lot of everything is in our heads and we don't realize how much we harm ourselves with that. From writing it down to making the vision plain is one, but also seeing my own systems on paper allowed me to bring in other people. There's a sense of pride that I felt when I hired an employee and I could say, hey, go to my Google Drive and take a look at the training manual.
Right. CEO move.
Because Sonya did that. So it's definitely helpful. Yeah.
You're funny. But to scale, you have to have processes, period. And that is one of the reasons why in my business and in this show, we focus on planning, processes, and people in that order. Because first you have to have the plan, which ties back to the strategy. Then you have to have the process that feeds into that. And then once you have those two things, next and last are the people. Because often we want to say, oh my gosh, I want to hire all these people, yet you don't even know what you're going to tell them to do. And it begins to be an awful situation for everybody. And as a CEO, you have to think beyond the now, right? You're caring for others. You're caring for your employees, your service providers, and your clients or customers, if you call them. So strategy gets to the root of all of that. And clearly you've had to use strategy because you have launched 2 successful event venues, and then you're going to be launching a third one. So I'm sure our viewers are like, okay, she's using strategy, but how are you managing all this being a small business CEO? Like, how are you even thinking about launching another business? So how, what's your method? What's your secret for people that are wanting to grow and make that happen? Because people trying to figure out how to make 6 figures out here in these streets, right?
So a big part of it really was building out my CRM platform. So after we did that initial strategy session with you, it kind of gave us an action plan. And one of the things that came out of it was, okay, Simone, well, you want to grow, but do you have the systems in place to grow to where you're not the person that has to be giving that customer service portion? Because what I really pride myself on is the details of my events and the visuals, but also the customer service portion side of it. And that's something that I really came to you and I said, hey, Sonya, people say, Simone, I know this is you. How do I make sure that I get that same vibe, even if I take myself out of the equation to be able to focus on something else? And you sat down with me and we mapped it out and we said, okay, so let's look at key pieces in your process that are very much customer service focused. How can we make sure that we still carry this through, that we relay the message that you want to relay, but we're doing it in a way that it's not, that you don't have to make sure that you're the one that's always reaching out, that you can still maybe talk to your employee and say, hey, at this point in the process, this is when you need to call the customer. At this point in the process, we're making sure that we have these particular documents. We're relaying these messages so that once they come into your venue or they're getting ready for their event, they're able to be prepared and know exactly what you want them to know coming into it. So that was a key piece of it for us. Making sure that we were able to relay that. Also, the processes that you helped me to put into place not only helped when it came time to onboarding a customer, it also helped when it came time to, them sending them a review after they had their event. Walking them through exactly what they can expect from us. But then when I had another employee that came on board, I was able to say, okay, I don't have to physically sit down and write out my process for you and tell you this is why we do this, because we actually had a manual in place that was able to explain it based off of you actually working with us and going through our process and explaining this is why we do this. This is why you click this button. If you don't click this button, this is what happens. This is what I expect out of this part in the process. It basically kind of fed into my whole people onboarding. Yes. And it took some of that away from me having to stop what I was doing here to train them. I was able to say, hey, we have this. If you fully take a look at it and read it, know this is what I expect, but I need for you to read it because it will explain to you this is why the system does what it does.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So automation, I know, again, can be very intimidating for a lot of business owners. It's like, that's just one more thing that I have to learn. But automation does not remove the intimate touch points to the client. You decide where those are as you're building your system. And again, that's what strategy does. You're, like you said, you take a step back and we actually walk through your whole client journey so that you're inserting yourself where it needs to be, which is that high touch. I call that a high impact point. And the low impact point, which are those repeatable tasks that we know take up so much time, the follow up on that invoice, the follow-up on that document that wasn't signed, the follow-up on that questionnaire that wasn't returned, that follow-up on, just whatever it is in your business, the system can do that.
Exactly.
And that way, when you do need to make that phone call, it makes total sense because you're connecting with them in a way that is going to align with whatever your expectation is for your client. So I love that you really took the idea of a system and you weren't intimidated by it, because it does take time to get to know the system, because we worked through that. But the beauty on the other end,
Yes.
you put automation in.
When you come out of it, the beauty is that I could then move on and focus on another business. I could
Yes.
allot my time to other things. I could say, okay, you know what? My employees got it. And for what they don't have, there are safe measures built into the system that says, hey, you may have forgotten this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you can build trust in your people, because if you have a system and you've written it down, you're empowering them, because now they know your expectation on what you expect from them and how to service the client. You now trust them because you have been clear, and you're now free to be more creative, to launch another business, to launch a product, to go to that networking event. So it's letting go. That's key as being a CEO. But to let go, you have to put systems in place and you have to have a strategy to support that. And you have done a fantastic job of that, because in order for you to build multiple businesses at the six-figure level, you've had to let go. You've had to embrace systems. You've had to reallocate your time appropriately to learn the new system, so that you're able to now onboard others to do what you were doing. You're duplicating yourself. Mm-hmm. And strategy gives you that time to do that.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Funny story, I was doing an event for a client, and this client has multiple businesses. Talking about us having multiple six-figure businesses, they have multiple 7-8-figure businesses. Okay. And
Hello.
So we were doing an event for them, and they had a cigar bar, and in the cigar bar, I saw, other CEOs come in to be with them for this party. They sat down and they were talking. And as they're talking, I heard one ask, well, how's the business going? And he said, it's going really, really good. They're having their conversation. And he goes, man, we're good. We're on autopilot. And when he said that, it clicked for me. It clicked that that's what they're striving to.
Yes.
Literally, that's what you're striving to where you're making money on autopilot.
In your sleep. Hello. Hello. And how do you think they're doing that? You think they just woke up one night and just said, I'm going to buy XYZ system? No. They actually met as a team, mapped it out, figured out the tools, the systems, and everything that they needed. And then they were able to get to auto. There are levels to this game. So to get to the six-figure game level, you have to have strategy, bottom line. Now, I'm not saying if you don't have it, some people are like, I've never had a strategic planning session at all and I'm still making six figures. But let me tell you, the people who didn't have a strategy in this pandemic that we're still in, but at the beginning of it, a lot of businesses closed because you're throwing spaghetti at the wall. You're just doing things. If they didn't have a foundation. Now, when you have a strategy, you know why you're doing it, for how long you need to do it. And when you have to pivot, you pivot a little versus having to pivot a lot. Yeah. And being able to pivot, you just have to do that as a small business owner. But you want to be able to pivot to the point it's not devastating all the time. Your mental can't take that. Your physical can't take that. The people that you are bringing in can't take that as much. So you want to minimize the effects of that for you and your client. So strategy doesn't just help you, but it helps your client and helps the client find you faster. More clients find you faster. Wouldn't you say?
I agree. Yeah, definitely agree.
Wow. So Tell us about how. So, was there a point where you didn't have strategy before, or have you
Definitely.
always had it?
No. No. There's definitely been a point where we haven't had strategy. Um, One of the things I can think of is offboarding, because
Mm,
that a lot of people miss. And
mhm,
I myself didn't quite appreciate the importance of having an offboarding strategy,
mm,
especially in my business.
mhm,
And
mhm,
in the past year, it's become so important because you don't realize that you spend a lot of marketing dollars on trying to acquire a client. You know, there's so many, a third of your budget goes
mhm,
to marketing. But when you look at COVID and you look at what we've come through and how we've tried to trim the fat and to be able to pivot, to be able to cut out the unnecessary, but still hang
mhm,
on so that we can come out on the other side, we had to think smarter. And part of that really kind of reared its head for me was my offboarding strategy.
mhm,
How do I trim the fat when it came to, my marketing dollars and moving forward and making sure that, I could be a little bit more lean. And that's when I realized that I really just wasn't making the most of the clients that I already had in order to be able to acquire more clients.
mhm.
I was letting them go happy, but I should have been letting them go happy and singing about me. Seriously. So they honestly could have, helped me to be able to acquire more clients. It should have been an automation portion that was just going out there, where the system that we built out with you had an offboarding portion in it, but the other systems that I had realized that, hey, we didn't have an offboarding email that went out. There was nothing that say, okay, you really liked what we did for you, go ahead, and these I'm sending you exactly where I want you to be to tell people about me.
Mhm, mhm. Right.
To them, exactly. And basically just wasting my marketing dollars when I
Mhm,
just had a pool
mhm.
of people ready there to be able to
Yes.
help me. Yeah,
Maximizing what you already have
yeah,
and following up, because we're always trying to get new leads, new
exactly.
people, and we know that it takes and spends you spend more money and more time getting a new lead than you do cultivating the people that you already have. So
Exactly.
having multiple strategies is what I'm hearing you say, because we think, oh, I have a strategy for my business, that's it.
Hmm.
No, there's strategies for everything that you can do in your business. It just depends on where you want to focus your time and what's most important for you when you're examining your budget. And I'm glad that you pointed that out, because budget is key. We should know our budget. We should
Yeah,
forecast to dictate ahead of time how much money we want to spend in marketing, how much we want to spend in professional development, because we can be a professional learner all day long, but if we don't realize that return on investment, it's like, is that converting at all? Like, is that really working? So again, what I love about just having an overarching strategy is it anchors you back to that.
yeah,
So before you sign up for that next course or write that next check, it's like, wait a minute, did I hit my priority points that I said that was important
yeah,
before I venture off and do this other thing that wasn't even on my to-do list for the year or for the quarter?
yeah.
So it keeps you really focused, and
Mhm.
you have worked your plan. I have to give you kudos for that. You have worked the plan, even things that we just thought about through the client journey that didn't exist. There's some things that you're bringing to life as a result of that. So I think it's amazing. So let's see here. We have some, oh, and for the people that are watching, if you have some questions for Simone or for me, definitely drop them in the comments, because we want this to be an engaging conversation. If there's some things that have chimed in your mind, let's see. Javakia says, hey, Javakia, thanks for joining. Now that's interesting, offboarding. Yes. She said she's never even considered that.
Yeah,
Yes, we focus on getting in onboarding new clients, but sometimes these new clients we get may not be the client that we want to maintain, or vice versa. We need to be just as intentional in how we offboard versus how we onboard, and it should align with the experience that you want to have for your clients, because it's necessary. It is definitely necessary. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Thanks, Shirakia, for those questions.
Back in the day, it's something akin to when you would go to an event or do something and they would give you a survey.
Mm-hmm.
Similar
Mm-hmm.
to, you know?
Yep, absolutely. And a strategy around offboarding, you can outline the triggers that will determine if somebody's ready to be offboarded. Because sometimes in the heat of the moment, you may not be thinking right, but you need to know if these things are met or if this keeps happening. This means we need to start having an offboarding discussion. So it's being proactive and not being reactive, and leaving in a mutual agreeable way. Because if you're thinking, I don't think this is a right or a good fit after you sign on the dotted line, 9 times out of 10, that client is probably thinking the exact same thing as well. So you can still salvage a relationship through an offboarding process.
Yeah.
You definitely can. You definitely can. So, all right. Strategy has definitely worked for you. You have built your businesses. You're still in the process of building your businesses. What would you tell a new CEO that is getting ready to get started in their business about where they should begin when it comes to strategy to move them along on their journey? This is you being the seasoned vet, Simone. What would you tell your younger self or someone new starting out in the game?
I would definitely say that it's important to have a strategy session maybe twice a year.
Twice a year. Okay. Tell us why.
Because going into, your first quarter and your second quarter, you have goals, there's always a checks and balances. America operates on a checks and balances system. Why should a business not, anything good is going to have a checks and balances system. Because when you do, whether you're successful in doing something, at least you look back to your baseline and you said, okay, well, we were successful in doing this, but we may not have been as successful in doing this. And we thought this was our key selling point, and it's not, and it's sort of like a check-in. You do a marriage, you do a check-in in everything else.
Yes.
So I honestly think that having a point to where you are able to, so forgive, you said transparent.
Yes.
This is what I do. Okay. So as a CEO, it is sometimes hard, even if you come into your office and you close your door, to be able to get into that mindset of your strategy session. So twice a year, okay? When I'm not doing a session with you, Sonya, what I do is I make it my business. It is my gift to myself. I check into a hotel. I check into a hotel that gives me the right vibes. So that it basically gives me the right vibes so that I know that I have a desk. I know that I can order food. I know that I feel comfortable and I feel I'm in a good mood. I sit there and I do and I write. I do and I do and I do. I look up, I research. I look at what's new in the industry. I look at what's trending. There's sometimes that I may take screenshots of things, but I don't have time to go back and research them. So for that 2 days, that's what I do. And I do that twice a year.
Okay. I love that. I'm taking notes. You see me, if people see me writing down, I'm taking notes.
when I go in, I know that there's one thing that I also have to leave there doing. So a lot of times it's probably one thing that I have on my list that just maybe it's supposed to get done in February, and it gets pushed to
Right.
March or in April. And then so when I go in there, I have that one thing that I also know I have to come out of there having accomplished.
I like that. 2 days, calming location to put you in the right headspace,
Yeah.
and all those things that you said you were going to do or thought you could do or didn't have enough time to do, you sit and you plan it out in your business, and you do that 2 times a year. What seasons do you do this? Do you recommend? Well, I know every season may be different, but you're in the event planning space. So what are the months that you do your sessions?
So usually November, because
Okay.
that's a big month for us.
Mhm.
We're planning on going into engagement season.
Mm.
It usually works for us.
Okay. So November, and then when do you do your other session with yourself?
It's usually in February or March.
Oh, okay. That sounds right, because that's when we had our session, around February. I think it was around March. So that makes sense. So I like the 2 days. The 2 days, and then the two um sessions that you have with yourself. And I think that's great, because strategies aren't a one-time thing. They're really a working document. A working document for you to refer back to, like I said, to anchor yourself to that. So I love that. So doing 2 strategy sessions in your business so that you can share. So what do you normally do after that? So you've had your session by yourself. How do you keep yourself accountable to it?
So one of the things that usually comes out of that is so I'm the person that actually, I have my phone calendar, but I also have to have it just feels good to write things down.
Yes.
It's just for me.
Yes. Yes. Honey,
So
you talking to another person that love office supplies and writing paper, writing things on paper. Okay. Give me a good pen.
exactly.
The quality of the pen matters. We digress. But it's all about being in that right space for you to have the best strategy session with yourself. So the quality of the tools you use is just as important.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay. You feel me on that.
Yeah.
So when I go in, this is usually with me. And what I do is I will basically fill it out for the next couple months. And I'm basically just creating a plan. So like it has like basically like a checklist for each month. And so each month I have to walk out of there with 3 things for the month that I have to accomplish
Okay.
based off of what I came up with in that room before I leave. I'll fill this out. And there are 3 things that I have to accomplish, and I just go ahead and I break it down by month. And it takes me a while to get to this, basically. So I've got sheets of paper and other books that I'm jotting on, but I'm looking at the whole plate,
Yes.
and then I'm triaging it, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking this is the month that it makes sense to do it in, because it needs to be completely done so that it can be done to go out in
Yes.
October or November. It's getting
Right.
triaged, and then I'm putting it onto the pages for that particular month. And at first, when I first started this, just knowing a little bit of something about myself is I love to take a lot on. And so I'm starting to realize that I have to give myself grace,
Yeah.
because I'm a serial entrepreneur and I want to do all the things. Things. And I think working with you has actually made me realize that, when you make it digestible, you actually get it done. So that's why I've limited myself to 3 things per month, because it has to be digestible, so I'm not failing each month, basically.
Gotcha.
I'm setting myself up for success.
Because we can be our own sense of overwhelm for ourselves.
Exactly.
Because we self-inflict that by saying we have to do 10 things. In reality, when we look at our personal life We look at the existing clients that we already have and what it takes to maintain them, and then look at the new things that we're trying to do and organize in our business. There's not enough time in the day.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter sometimes if you have people or not. Sometimes it's just not realistic in the time frame that we're wanting to do it. So writing it down, and I love your process. And as you were thinking, and as you were sharing that, I actually have something very similar to that I've created. So you just validated that it works. So I love that you do that. But you are, again, organizational development and the gift of organizing. You have to be organized because you're an event business, all those details. But for people who aren't organized, that process, you really helped them with that. And I can organize for people, right? It's like, I'm not good at work. That's okay. I can organize your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do. That's what I do. Love it. Love it. And coming from someone who's already organized, it just shows that as a CEO, you can't do it all yourself, and you shouldn't. And for how you want to grow, again, growing to six figures, you have to have help, whether it's service providers or it's employees or volunteers or interns, or, you define what your help looks like. You just have to look into your resources to figure out who and how they can help, but then asking for it. Hello, right? Asking
Yeah.
for the help. And I know you like to take on a lot. So, what got you over the hurdle of asking for help?
Ooh. Realizing that I am a finite resource. And I just had to be smarter about the way that I used myself in my business, smarter about
Mm,
the way that I used um, my energy, you know,
mm,
um,
mm-hmm.
having kids and having them make you realize that, hey, we need you as well.
Yeah.
And ultimately, for me, knowing the why behind my business and that, I want to create something for my children. But
Mm,
family would also tell me too, it doesn't matter what you create for them if you're not there, if they don't have you. So that clicked with me. And I just said, you know what? Sometimes it's not worth it. You can't do everything. You need to bring someone on. You need to outsource. You need to ask for help. And
mm-hmm.
slowly but surely, I'm learning to ask for help and to realize that I can't do everything, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a muscle you exercise as well. The more help you get, but it's not just asking for it, knowing the type of help you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's very important because you can end up with all this help around you, but you don't know how to utilize it, and you're overwhelming yourself because, again, you're not intentional about why you are bringing someone on. And again, strategy helps you with that. So you know what type of person, because you might have three friends that say, yeah, girl, I can help you out. I do that. But yet their personality may not match what you need done in your business. Their drive may not match, and their skills
Yes.
may not match to your brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So being intentional about the why behind it all, it matters. I mean, you just shared a whole lot tonight. But before we go, you are venturing off into yet another business that you're going to be launching. Again, serial entrepreneur for real, but you all know how she's done it with strategy multiple times through the year, understanding that you have to delegate, incorporating systems, communicating, and asking for help. So, with that, you're able to create and work on creating yet another six-figure business. So tell us about this new venture that you are embarking on, Simone.
Sure. So who knew that, when my job was outsourced and I got into event planning, that ultimately I was being led to where I'd be able to combine multiple loves. And
Mm,
so that's the space that I feel that I'm in right now. and just years of my passion and what I love to do come into fruition.
Mhm.
So we will be launching the Confetti Consultant, which
Mhm.
is my new business. And ultimately, you touched on this a little bit in reading my bio. So I had the opportunity to work with some brands and helping them to create beautiful spaces, create brands, event venues,
Mhm.
and basically market them, bring them to market, and bring on revenue. And so in doing that, I realized that, hey, I've got a knack for it. And it kind of helped me to put my love of events along with my ability to facilitate and to help with strategy and helping organizations. And so basically that's what we're doing with the Confetti Consultant. We are helping people that are in the non-traditional venue space,
Mhm.
also assisting event centers, small event venues, because right
Mhm.
now, we see that there is a lack of voice and
Mhm.
systems. There's a lack of education for those that are getting into this arena but don't quite know all the different avenues and how to put everything together. And
Mhm.
so Confetti Consultant will focus on helping non-traditional venue and event space owners with their systems, with their brand, their front-facing customer service portions, and basically making sure that they're the same. They're in the same boat that I was, wanting to
Mhm.
do something that could basically change their generational makeup, leave a
Mhm.
legacy for their kids. And I want to help them in making sure that they have sustainable businesses through exactly that systems and yeah.
So you are going to be consulting and
Mhm.
sharing your knowledge of not of how you built a six-figure business, quite frankly, with other people who want to be in that same space that have a non-traditional venue. So
Mhm.
you're duplicating yourself in the sense of replicating how you have built your business and sharing it with others. I think that is fantastic.
Thank you.
That is fantastic. And you've done it multiple times. So clearly the formula works. We know, people, right? That the formula works because you've worked the formula, and now that you know, you're going to be sharing it with people. So event planners. So I would imagine, so event planners that are wanting to get into the space, they no longer have to wonder and look and Google,
Mhm.
how do I get started? What do I need to know? What do I need to do? You're going to be able to share that with them.
Yeah.
Wow. And then if you own an event space, you're also going to be able to let them know from a systems perspective how to manage the systems from a client perspective and to get clients in and out. Like, I think that is wonderful. That's really zero in on your niche. And I remember we talked about that. That's a check item on your strategic plan. Look at you. What, a year later? Was it
Yeah.
2 years later? Is it 2 years
Yeah.
later?
Um, we talked about this at the beginning of this year.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, let's see. I think we have a comment here. Oh, Kimberly Hamilton said yes. Hey, Kim. She said yes. Yep, on the move, on the move. All right. So, is there anything else that you want to share
Mm.
to let people know how they can get in contact with you if people want to reach out to you?
Sure. So you can email me at I'm Simone at theconfetticonsultant.com. We'll be launching that website soon. You can also find me visit us at our venue, the Confetti Room Cincy. Keep an eye out soon. We're in the process of building out a wedding venue. And with that, we are, so we are in the process of actually working with Sonya to launch a masterclass. So she's been very, you've been awesome in helping us to put the pieces to the puzzle together so that we can launch a masterclass where basically you'll be joining me on the entire build out process as we go from construction to opening our doors to actually taking in clients and hosting our first event. And so we'll have that masterclass later on this year. And yeah, for all of your event needs, I'm also at Luxenor Events, Luxenor Designs. So yeah.
Look at you. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hubby's on the line and he says,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, look at the picture. Okay. Awesome. Simone, you have been a joy. Thank you for dropping the gems on how you have created your six-figure businesses that's still growing when it comes to strategy. And hopefully this has inspired other CEOs in the making, CEOs that are seasoned, CEOs that are not quite sure if they really are a CEO because it's a mindset, right? I hope
Yeah.
that this has inspired you, and that's the reason why I have this segment where we can have conversations and really ask the questions, because strategy is the backbone of our businesses. And if we're not pulling back the curtain and spending as much time planning other events as we are this, I mean, we plan events, right? You're in the event planning business. We put all the detail in birthday parties and in anniversary celebration. We spend that same amount of time planning in our business. Think about that. We should, and it starts with strategy. So if anyone would like to talk a little bit more about strategy one-on-one, definitely reach out to me at sharewithsonya.com. I'd love to get to know you a little bit more and be able to help give you some peace and order in your business, starting with strategy so that we can figure out what it is that you need to do to get your business off and running. We're in fourth quarter, folks, basically, as of next week. We can end this year with a bang or start 2022 with an even bigger bang. So you all know how to reach out to me. You know how to reach out to Simone. If you are in the event industry and you need help, Simone is your girl. She is fabulous to work with. She's fabulous to be able to share. She's tried and proven, right? So reach out to her. Let's see. Kim says, awesome, ladies. Thank you so much, Kim, for tuning in and staying with us. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining today. This has been a fantastic segment. And I will be back in the next couple of weeks. And before we go, I just want you to know, as you are thinking about your business, I want you to stay strategic. And until next time.